Welcome back to Sports Wrap Daily. I am Daryl Harris, joined today by Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, across the country right now, joining us via satellite, I like to say. And we're talking hoops. The NBA is looking at Las Vegas, so let's go ahead and see what's going on in this league. First up, we're coming off this NBA Finals, man. Brandon, what did you think about it? Tell me about it. This was historic. I haven't felt like basketball was this mainstream in a long time.
53 years was the drought between the New York Knicks winning their last prior to 2026 and now winning it against the San Antonio Spurs in 5 years is interesting for me. New York and New Jersey, I claim as both home. I grew up in both. And I remember hearing stories from my aunts, my uncles, my parents, my cousin, who was actually a ball boy for that 73 Knicks team. And, it was significant. The Knicks in 94 lost to the Rockets. And during playing in a series while the O.J. Simpson chase was going on back in 1994 on the L.A. Freeway. And then in 99, Patrick Ewing tore his Achilles. Marcus Camby had to take over the big man position, and they weren't able to get it done in 99, and they avenged that loss many years later. And, you look at the parity there between both teams. Really, the Spurs were just a young team trying to figure a lot of things out, and they beat the reigning champs in the Oklahoma City Thunder. They ran out of gas, but the Knicks have been clicking on all cylinders all season. Had their ups and their downs, but I really think in the playoffs, Game 4 against the Atlanta Hawks was really the turning point for that team, where they really found an identity. I'll tell you a quick funny story. I was at Game 4 in Atlanta when the Knicks played the Hawks out at State Farm Arena, and if you remember, Jalen Brunson's dad who's an assistant coach, Rick Brunson, was yelling and cursing and covering his mouth, saying some things to Jalen. And after the game was over, I was standing outside in the hallway in the Hawks visiting locker room, and his dad walks by me and goes, "Ask him why I was yelling. Ask why I was yelling." And made it a point to say that to me and other members of the media because many people may argue prior to the finals win that nepotism had its place in the Knicks locker room, and his father was holding him accountable. In fact, more accountable than his own head coach and Mike Brown, and didn't care that there was an audience watching him curse him out. And it wasn't just Brunson that was the star of the show in that game, but it was really Karl Anthony Towns who began to post triple doubles in the playoffs going against the Hawks team, and that carried over to the next round against the Sixers, and then ultimately against the Cavs. But I really do pinpoint Game 4 of round 1 as a point where the Knicks really started to come together as a cohesive unit.
No, man, it was from that point on, like you said, I think that's when they went on that, 10 or 11 game winning streak in the postseason, and offense was clicking on all cylinders. Perimeter defense was tight. Communication was sharp. The connectivity, you just saw it was there. The comebacks were there. And right now, there's a bit of a debate. This isn't final. I think that Jalen Brunson now, if anything, is looking forward to next season to say that, yeah, I thought it was a fluke. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep this up. He's a 29 points per game playoff scorer. I want to ask you, where does he fall? I don't want to just do all time, but what does this do for his legacy? How can we wrap our heads around this already, that what he just pulled off, which was monumental? As a guard, we know the comments. We know the Becky Hammond story that sort of originated from here after her comments years ago. But how do we put into context what he's pulled off?
Well, I mean, to be fair, it wasn't just Becky Hammond who made those comments. I mean, there were other people out there. There was Tracy McGrady. There was Stephen A. Smith. There was a myriad of people who looked at Jalen Brunson as a complimentary player and not a star player. And really, I think that's judged based upon his role in his previous team as a member of the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, the Mavericks were building upon Luka Doncic, and really and truly, Kyrie Irving was a better fit alongside Luka in that role than Brunson was. But I really think that the Knicks overall kind of had a head start. Leon Rose, if I'm not mistaken, is Brunson's godfather, and William Wesley, who's second in command under Leon Rose, has relationships with just about everyone, and they kind of had a head start. I talked to Mark Cuban about this maybe a year after he signed with the New York Knicks, and he said he had no regrets. He actually told Jalen Brunson, "Man, go get your money. We can't afford you in that capacity, but I want to see you be successful." And they're friends. They're friendly since then, and basketball is a business, but to directly answer your question about legacy, I think his legacy is still being written. I think it's
Right.
definitely a positive check mark on his resume. But I'm hearing a lot of people on social and seeing a lot of people on social media, pose this question: Is he? Where does he fit on the greatest Nick of all time? I feel like this is just a derivative of the GOAT conversation. Like, you can't compare Michael Jordan to LeBron James right now because LeBron James is still an active player in the NBA. And I still don't think you can, have a conversation about Brunson as, the greatest Knick of all time. I still think the three greatest living Knicks of all time are Bernard King, in no particular order: Bernard King, Patrick Ewing, and Walt Clyde Frazier. But I definitely think, if we're to, have a conversation just about where he fits in that mantle, I mean, Jalen Brunson did something Carmelo Anthony didn't do. He won a championship with the Knicks, but that doesn't take anything away from Carmelo Anthony's greatness.
Right.
I still think Jalen Brunson's career is still being written.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Well, and really quick then too. Let's talk about Victor on the other side, just because I won't say that we've seen his career here in Vegas since summer league, and I've been paying close attention to him. That Olympic performance in 2024 and silver medal effort was remarkable for a 20-year-old. His story, of course, absolutely still being written. He adopted a bit of the villain role. Do you have any thoughts on Wembanyama sort of going forward as he regroups this offseason as well?
Yeah, we've seen this before. Look at Michael Jordan losing to the Pistons. He and the Bulls losing to the Pistons for myriad of times until '91. They won the Eastern Conference Finals and played the Lakers in the finals and won. Look at LeBron James in 2007. I think 22 or 23 years old, going against Tim Duncan and the Spurs, and losing, and then 3 years later finding his way to Miami and really accepting a villain role in that way, taking his talents to South Beach. I mean, heck, Giannis Antetokounmpo was struggling against the Miami Heat for some years before, the Bucks finally made it to the NBA Finals and won. I think that's part of the growing process. Shaquille O'Neal himself and Penny Hardaway, members of the Orlando Magic in '95, losing to the Houston Rockets. I compare this to going to college and getting your heart broken by a woman for the first time. You never forget that heartbreak, but you know how to move accordingly. That's what Victor Wembanyama is going through.
That's perfectly put, and I think that's very relatable on and off the court, and to be continued as well. You mentioned Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's talk about him because he's sort of the belle of the ball this offseason. I've been on record saying that Milwaukee kind of missed the boat in terms of maybe getting maximum return on what a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade would fetch. I do have legitimate concerns about his availability. I don't think you're getting 100 games out of Giannis. I think you're getting close to 70, including regular season and postseason. He's rounding that 30 curve. Still think that he's going to be, still think that he's a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. But a lot of stuff is picking up right now in terms of a deal may come through in the next couple of days. What do you think the trajectory for Giannis is?
Well, I think the Miami train has been strong. As far as the Boston Celtics goes, do you get rid of your nucleus to bring in Jalen Brown on the Buck side? And does Giannis automatically guarantee you a championship? I'm not sure. Because when you look at the Boston Celtics, even this season, Jalen Brown carried them significantly. And he's really been playing with a chip on his shoulder. I sat down with Jalen during the season and we talked about the notion that people thought that the Celtics were going to only win 30 games this season. And he said to me, I'm glad I'm showing with my actions and not my words. And I can pop it a little bit and talk smack and show that. And this was without Jason Tatum. And I think that many people just want Jason Tatum to be that face and that star. And there's no Celtics championship in 2024 without Jalen Brown's significance, scoring, and leadership. So, if you do move Jalen Brown to the Milwaukee Bucks, you can expect the Bucks to get the same Jalen Brown. But I don't know if Giannis going to Boston cures that quench.
Yeah.
From what I know, Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, and picks is basically what Miami and Milwaukee has discussed. But I'll share with you, there was a conversation with the Orlando Magic and the Milwaukee Bucks towards the trade deadline concerning the availability on the Orlando side of Paolo Banchero in exchange for Giannis. And those conversations kind of went south. And Portland was another team that had legitimate
Yeah.
interest, but I think Portland is still trying to establish a new identity under their new team governor and just what they're going to be. And so when you're looking at a team that's competitive or a team that's relevant and more East, those are the two teams that make the most plausible sense. I spoke to someone over the weekend that in addition to just the whole process of competing, it's also bringing your family who want to come and support you the clearest path. And someone intimated to me over the weekend, Giannis going to Miami is the clearest one-way trip from Greece to Miami, and it was the same concept with New York, and in the process of that happening. But of course, the Knicks and Karl Anthony Towns had other plans. Boston is a winner, but I think on paper, Jalen Brown does offer them the best star comparison. Miami promotes future in as far as the exchange. So I do think Giannis is getting to a point in his career where 65, 70, 80 games is where he's going to be, because self-preservation is and preparing for the playoffs is what he's looking to do.
We got a couple more minutes, just a few, but I do want to talk about the NBA draft. The NBA draft is, about 24 hours away, give or take. And this is a class, man. This is quite the class. Haven't seen a class like this with so many domestic college freshman prospects in some time. The Wizards landed the first overall pick. Is there somebody that I'm watching Chicago? I think that Chicago really has to do something in this lottery. I don't think they're going to get this opportunity necessarily back. They have to maximize and come away with this. I would like to see them even trade up. But just a little bit about a minute. What's one thing you're watching for in this draft?
Whether the Wizards and Utah stand pat for picks 1 and 2. That's the thing that's most interesting to me. Trae Young will agree to a new
hefty
deal. And so where does that put AJ? And does AJ find his way to Utah? And what happens there? In addition to what is to become of Anthony Davis. It's been told to me that Trae wants AD to stay, but AD still does love LA.
And we know that Darren Peterson took that visit to Washington as well. Scoop B, let us know where to find you, man. Where your work is at, and we know you got your own show that you're working on as well.
Yeah, make sure you check out the Pull Up with Scoop B. Episode 2 drops on my YouTube channel Monday, June 29th. Antoine Walker will be the first guest. Subscribe to my YouTube channel there. Visit scoopb.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ScoopB. That's where you can find everything that we have going on, brother. And thank you for the opportunity to be myself on your show.
Oh, man. We're going to need to get you back. We couldn't fit everything in one episode, that's for sure. And some of these storylines will continue to evolve, but we will tap back in soon. Thank you for giving us your time. And we'll be back soon, folks. Sports Wrap Daily. It doesn't stop. Thank you for watching.